Good morning. Welcome into Let's Bet It here on Pickswise and Pickswise.com. I am Mark Zeno, joined by Jared Smith. Make sure you subscribe to our Pickswise YouTube channel. Leave your comments in below. Tell us what games you're on, what questions you have. We'll try to get to them all. Of course, download the Pickswise app on the Apple Store and Google Play. A jam-packed show for today. Winners and losers, college football, early bets or early birds for this coming week. Of course, we'll take a look at Monday Night Football with our guy, Bobby Stanley, a.k.a. Prop Holliday, and finish up with our plays of the day. That's how we do it here on Let's Bet It, brought to you by Superbook Sports. Jared, good morning. Welcome, and I hope it was a profitable weekend for you.
It was okay. College was NFL was pretty solid besides my teaser bets. We hit another 3-star yesterday with the Niners, covering rather easily, minus a little field goal hiccup there in the second half. But besides that, they just completely dominated that game. We deserved the cover. We got the cover. We're both repping AFC East colors today. I'm repping the Dolphins teal, and you're looking a little more gang greenish. So how about the AFC East? Buffalo, of course, is fantastic. We'll see them later tonight. Dolphins and the Jets, not too shabby. Patriots get a win. Not a bad day for the AFC East yesterday.
No, it certainly was not. And the Patriots ended up being the right side of their game against the Steelers, as many were debating back and forth, more hotly contested and bet games throughout the week. So we'll recap it all here on this edition of Let's Bet It. But we get some NFL news. Quarterback Trey Lance of the 49ers, the aforementioned 49ers, breaks his ankle, will require season-ending surgery, and the 49ers just simply cannot quit Jimmy Garoppolo no matter how hard they try. They complete him. He completes them. They had him at hello. He's beautiful. He's gorgeous. And he's once again their starting quarterback. Now, what's interesting about this is I actually believe this makes the 49ers handicaps a lot easier going forward. There's a certain amount of stability and consistency you get from Jimmy G that we just don't know we would have gotten from Trey Lance at this point in time. And I actually like the 49ers more now than I did before. And I thought they were going to the Super Bowl this year regardless. So I'm confident again with the 49ers and Jimmy G at the helm.
Yeah, looking into the numbers yesterday, his EPA was solid, at ADOT was solid. Completion percentage could use a little bit of a tick up, but again, it was his first game with really no practice being thrust into this role. I'm assuming his experience kind of just got him through what was, anytime a backup quarterback gets thrust into the spotlight very quickly. I know Jimmy's had the spotlight on him for a number of years, but still it's the reps in practice with this particular group, the verbiage, everything. But he has a lot of that knowledge to lean on, and that's why it looked a lot more polished than it probably would have been for other backup quarterbacks thrust into similar situations with no practice time that week. So very impressive performance by San Francisco. Again, what you saw last week, not exactly indicative of the full picture. And you could say that for a lot of teams yesterday. What we saw in week 1 tends to be just a little fraction of what the reality is. Now, that being said, once we got to the witching hour yesterday, I tweeted this out. I always laugh at when I'm watching that hour of football, our hubris on these shows and shows like this, thinking that we can actually predict what's supposed to happen out there based off of the insanity that ensues in that 1 hour pocket. But it was a lot of fun. The NFL continues to be the best sports product on TV. There is zero doubt about that in my mind.
Raise your hand if you had any of these three, not only as the top three, but in the top 3 leading passers after 2 weeks. Tua Tagovailoa, 739 yards. Carson Wentz, 650. And Joe Flacco, 616 yards. Yeah, everybody put your hand down because you're lying. Nobody had any of those 3 in the top 3 after 2 weeks, let alone all 3 of them in the top 3. That parlay would have paid something quite sweet, to say the least. And that just goes to show you how sort of off-kilter the first 2 weeks of the NFL have been. With that said, let's get to our winners and losers and an overreaction for Overreaction Monday here on Let's Bet It. So, Jared, I'll start with you. Your biggest winner so far in week 2.
Yeah, I'll go with Tua. The numbers speak for themselves. 6 touchdowns, almost 500 yards, just an insane comeback. A 28-3. That score just continues to pop up in NFL lore. Fourth quarter for Miami over Baltimore. I think when you look at this Dolphins team, they have at least now the swagger, the confidence to step into an arena with any other team in the league and feel like they can compete. Whether that will be the result that we see at the end of the day, again, their schedule will stiffen down the stretch. They'll have 2 games against the Bills. They play the Bengals in a couple of weeks. They have to go to face the 49ers on the road. They face the Packers. So there are going to be plenty of opportunities for Tua on the big stage to prove that he can compete with the Josh Allens, the Aaron Rodgers of the world. Yesterday against Lamar Jackson, I'll be honest, I have no idea how they won that game. You play that game out 100 times, just like they played out the other games, the Jets-Browns game 100 times and some of the other ridiculousness that we saw yesterday. The Dolphins probably win 1 out of the 100, and yesterday was the 1. But it speaks to the type of offense that Mike McDaniel is building. I mean, listen, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill look like absolute rock stars in this offense. Their running game needs to be improved, and their defense has to, take a step up because they really got shredded in the first half yesterday. But through 2 weeks, the Mike McDaniel experiment looks like it's working, and I'm excited to see it progress.
My biggest winner is the New York Giants and specifically Brian Daboll. I mean, for a team that doesn't have a very good roster and doesn't necessarily have a lot of impact players on it from top to bottom, Brian Daboll is living proof that when you coach and you know how to coach, and you, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, are creative and you play to your strengths and you understand game situation in certain moments in it, you can make very below average rosters seem a lot better. The MVP of the Giants so far, and their 2-0 start, which nobody saw coming, even the biggest Giants fans like me, is Brian Daboll. He has proven himself through just 2 games, very small sample size, to be an excellent play design, play caller, and executor of an offense, and they are 2-0 simply because of him. And that, to me, speaks volumes because, like I said, that's not a great quarterback. That's not a great roster. It's not a great O-line. There's nothing impressive about the secondary, and somehow that team is figuring out ways to win. So that is my biggest winner. My biggest loser, and I'm going to start off here, Nathaniel Hackett, you suck. I have never seen in my adult lifetime a coach unequivocally be so bad that the entire NFL universe believes he is unfit for the job like Nathaniel Hackett is. He's worse than Ben McAdoo. I mean, he is literally the worst coach of my adult lifetime through 8 quarters of football, and it's embarrassing. He's in over his depth. He clearly doesn't have a grasp of concept of the game. And for the longest time, I guess, Aaron Rodgers was bailing that dude out. But this is case number 1 and case A1 of why when you have an all-time Hall of Fame quarterback, you don't go hire that offensive coordinator because he don't do crap. Aaron Rodgers was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. Nathaniel Hackett sucks. And he is just – that's not going to last a full year because that team ain't making the playoffs with him at the helm, period. Now, a little bit in his defense, Russell Wilson does kind of look a little bit aged and not playing really well and missing throws and everything else. But still, I mean, Hackett can't hack it. He sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch this show all summer, I was kind of hinting at the Russell Wilson part of your take. I didn't see the 10.5 win plateau for them, which is what Vegas was kind of saying they were at. I agree. I mean, it was pretty bad yesterday. It was funny. The Sunday night game, they were telling a story about Aaron Rodgers and how happy he was with Green Bay over the last few years, and they went off on a tangent. And I think this kind of proves your point a little bit. They went off on a tangent about how Hackett was the ringleader of like keeping Aaron Rodgers happy, like playing these games. They played like darts in the quarterback room, and he was like the director of fun. Yeah, that's not exactly the kind of guy I want to be the head coach of my football team. Maybe you want to hire him to be like the entertainment director to like keep the team happy and entertained on road trips. But when it comes to like making hard and fast decisions on the football field, the guy that was in charge of like
Did we lose Jared's audio? Okay, we have no audio from Jared here, so I apologize. We'll get Jared up to speed here in just a moment. As I was checking with our production staff, we did lose his audio, so I'll get a thumbs up once we get him back in. And I will get to my biggest loser. I mean, my biggest overreaction here, and I'll let Jared come back in as soon as he's ready for his biggest loser and overreaction. But the biggest overreaction to me so far is the Detroit Lions. Look, they won a game yesterday. They were favored for the first time in 24 games. And I was, full disclosure, I was on the Commanders. I thought there was not a spot where I thought the Lions should have been favored at this point in time. And they came out and played a good game. But let's pump the brakes on, where the Lions are at this point in time as far as how competitive they're going to be. The problem is their defense still gave up 400 yards yesterday. And as far as them winning games, that's an issue because through 2 weeks now, they've been toasted defensively on the defensive side of the ball. And that's something that, you can't allow to happen. You're going to lose more games with a bad defense than you are with a bad offense. You can win games with a bad offense and a good defense. It's really hard to hold on to leads and when you don't have the football and the other team is constantly scoring on you. So biggest overreaction was my Lions. All right, Jared, we have you back. We'll give you a mic check 1 2 1 2.
There was a call from the Nathaniel Hackett police to get me off the air very quickly. Yeah, they didn't want me to reveal that dirty secret. No, did we get to the point about me talking about the director of fun, Nathaniel Hackett?
We got through director of fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
where did we leave off?
We can move on if you want from the Hackett bashing because I think it's a dead horse at this point in time. But I'm
going to lose my lunch if we keep talking about him. Exactly. Okay, so the Cleveland Browns did something yesterday that was historic, and I don't know if you guys saw this number floating around the Twitter sphere. So teams leading in the final 13 minutes had won 2,331 straight games. Excuse me, teams leading by 13 plus. That is an important point there. In the final 2 minutes, 2,331 straight games. I mean, think about it, guys. There's only 17 games in a season. There's only 272 in an entire season. So 2,331 straight games. We're talking about this stat dates back to like the 50s and the 60s, like the beginnings of the NFL here. The Browns did something yesterday that was truly historic. The Bengals yesterday really showed their inefficiencies on the offensive line and some things that really need to be cleaned up with Joe Burrow and company. The Ravens yesterday showed a historic defensive collapse. Now, their offense looked good, and I think that's something you can take with you. And the Pittsburgh Steelers obviously lost. That game was, I would say, relatively normal played. New England, the spread was 2.5. New England won by 3, no big deal. But, those 4 teams yesterday really need to find a little starch, find a little bit more toughness because they just, in different ways, all melted down. And I think we're going to see some better play from the AFC North going forward. But they were my biggest loser yesterday. And I think right now it's fair to say they are like the NFC East of a couple of years ago when there's a chance that only one team is above 500 in that division after it's all said and done.
Yeah. Again, a lot went wrong for the AFC North. I don't know if you're in the same boat that many are, but the argument that Nick Chubb, instead of going into the end zone with under 2 minutes left, should have fallen down at the 3-yard line.
Absolutely.
The Jets have no timeouts and they don't touch the ball again. But again, I'm never going to fault a guy for. Well, I understand the logic in it. I'm never going to fault a guy for putting.
He did it last year. Remember? He did that exact same thing last year against the Texans.
You're not supposed to give up 2 touchdowns.
I agree that in the heat of the moment, it's hard. It's hard to stop yourself. But that's why you practice those things. I know they practice those things. I've seen it. I expected better in that spot. But then again, the onside kick and all the other things, the Browns didn't get off the field on third down. Period. End of story. I mean, it was a lot of things led to that loss.
You also give up an onside kick that you were supposed to recover. And, I mean, fluke plays happen. That's how you blow a 14-point lead in the minute 55. So, all right, with that, let's turn to our attention to Monday Night Football. Welcoming our guy, Prop Holliday, a.k.a. Bobby Stanley. Follow him on Twitter at Prop Holliday, 2 L's, Holliday. And we will take a look at Monday Night Football here. from a prop standpoint. Of course, 2 games going on tonight between the Buffalo Bills and Tennessee Titans, and then you get the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Bobby, welcome. Yesterday was a little bit of a struggle bus again, right? Or no? I know we didn't get the CMC prop that was there.
I got to talk to the producers because the clips you guys pull are not making me look good. Overall, I was up plus 4.5 units on the day, but these clips are killing me. So I got to talk to Jacob when we get off.
Jeez, shots fired. Biggest overreaction from yesterday for Bobby is the producers of the show. That is Bobby, you're going to get your mic cut pretty soon if you keep talking like that, dude.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm doing it to myself, but no, it was a good Sunday overall for me. Obviously, the one game that I picked, Carolina. I thought Carolina really showed us something in the second half of Week 1 against Cleveland. Turns out Cleveland's just really good at blowing a lead, so that one's on me.
That's their that's their toxic trait.
There certainly is that. All right, let's take a look at tonight. The more interesting game to me, Vikings and Eagles. After the Vikings dismantled the Packers in Week 1, Eagles offense looks like it's unstoppable after 1 week. Points are expected to be scored in this one, although you're still getting a total sitting at 50 or 50.5 where you are. So there should be points scored in that one, and that means props should be abound, at least overs, theoretically. So where do you go in this game?
So for this game, I'm on Kirk Cousins. Over 36.5 passing attempts. I got it at minus 121. So Week 1, he throws 32 passing attempts against the Green Bay Packers. They had 28 rushing attempts as a team, but that game never felt competitive. They really felt like they were in a lead and were able to bleed the clock late. They had an entire fourth quarter drive. It ate up 3 minutes. It consisted of nothing but Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison run plays. So I do agree this game is going to be a lot more high. And we really get to see what Kirk Cousins can look like in this offense because Week 1 felt like it was a tease for me. So 36.5 passing attempts for Kirk Cousins.
I guess I need to refresh my rundown because I'm not really seeing where your plays are. I think maybe they're in here now. Oh, there we go. They just popped up. I had to hit the refresh button. All right, so you got Kirk Cousins. Treylon Burks. All right, so I guess we can pop. Oh no, let's stay with this Vikings game because you've got KJ Osborne as a touchdown scorer. That's a name I haven't heard pop up on my radar yet this year, Bobby, which is probably good news for you because usually the first person to talk or tweet about someone is the positive, and then it trickles down from there. So talk to me about KJ Osborne tonight. I mean, I agree with your Kirk Cousins take too. I do think this is an opportunity for him against an Eagles defense that I think is a little overrated to take advantage of a very opportunistic spot. You think KJ Osborne could be on the receiving end of that?
I do. I think for his odds, it's plus 360 for him as an anytime touchdown scorer. He is the slot receiver. He's the wide receiver 3 in this offense. Last season, he was targeted 10% of the time in the red zone. In Week 1, he had 2 red zone targets behind only Justin Jefferson. We know Jefferson is going to take a majority of the defense's attention. I think we could see KJ Osborne at nearly 4-1 squeak one in, whether that be deep, whether that be when they cross the 20. I like the value there at nearly 4-1.
All right, let's flip to the other game here, the early game between the Titans and the Bills. Again, Bills minus a hefty number of 10, total of 47.5. These two teams played last year. The Titans won the game. Now, rosters have changed a little bit dynamically. Again, Titans sans A.J. Brown, add Von Miller into the Bills. Things look a little bit different, but you're focusing on the rookie here tonight.
I do. I like the rookie, Treylon Burks, Tennessee Titans. His longest reception is only 15.5 yards. Average depth of target is nearly at 20, and he had a 20-yard reception and a 27-yard reception in Week 1. I went back and watched all of his targets throughout the entire game. He had 2 other deep balls that were overthrown, so they are looking for him in the explosive play. And then Dontrell Hilliard is the third down running back. He's out tonight. There was a play last week where they motioned Burks behind the line of scrimmage, gave him a short pass out of the backfield. Maybe we see a little bit more of that, but they're finding different ways of getting this guy involved in the offense and getting him football. Him at over 15.5 for a longest reception, I'm all over it. It's my favorite play tonight.
Treylon Burks over 15.5 yards, longest reception. The Bobby Stanley prop of the day. I haven't bet a lot of props this year, Bobby. I bet on opening night. I bet a couple of Josh Allen props, and they both lost, and I haven't bet a prop since. Maybe I'll get to the window on that because I don't have a lot brewing tonight. In fact, I have nothing in that second game, or the Titans-Bills game. I kind of think, and we can let's spark the discussion about the game itself because we haven't talked about it yet. I kind of think that spread's a little too high. I think that spread's a hair too high. I think the Bills, from what we've seen in the trends, when you win by 21 plus in week 1, which is the NFL considers a blowout win, you tend not to cover the following week. That's what the trend says. Well, again, each trend is only worth the context that it's, in this case, this particular game. But when you look at this particular game, I do kind of think I could see Ryan Tannehill playing relatively well because no one thinks he's going to play well, and that's why the spread is double digits. Am I crazy? Mark, I guess I'll start with you. Am I crazy for thinking that this spread's maybe a hair too high after what the Bills did in week 1?
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure is my play of the day, so I'll save my analysis for it at the end of the show. But yeah, I mean,
I didn't see that in the rundown. Oh, I guess we're on the same page then.
way too fat of a number for two teams that were double-digit regular season win teams and first-round bye teams last year in the playoffs, right? Like, I mean, if I would have told you prior to the season starting, hey, I'm taking two double-digit win teams from last year that both made the playoffs and putting them on the field together, is there any way you see a 10-point spread coming out? And everybody, no, objectively, no, because nobody separates that much from teams that are that good. Now, again, we've seen a lot of crazy things early on here in the year, and that doesn't mean that it can't happen. The Bills look as legit as any team does through 1 week of football or 2 weeks of football for that matter, but still way too heavy of a number.
What do you think, Bobby?
I was on the fence about it with the 10, and then I saw the injury report that came out this morning. Ed Oliver is out. Tim Settle is likely out. This is the middle of that.
Oliver being out is massive news.
Yeah, Derrick Henry.
That's the middle of that Buffalo Bills defensive line. Derrick Henry had 3 touchdowns last year against this Bills team. So if they can successfully set up the run and control the clock, it speaks very well to that 10 points. So I 10. And then Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis obviously is expected to be out. I think he's listed as doubtful at the moment. So
man, how did this line get to 10?
But it stayed at 10 even after the injuries. I figured maybe.
And not only that,
a lot of money on the Bills too.
Yes, that's the other part about this. The public is hammering the Bills right now, and the line is not moving. Follow the money. I mean, it tells you that if the line isn't moving, there's reason that they are willing to accept the liability on the Bills laying 10 because bookmakers know what bookmakers know. And that the right side is probably the Titans here. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing go to 9.5 and then a bump in the juice as well to get Buffalo with some of the injury news that's coming out before kickoff. So
I'm putting a unit on the Bills. On the Titans. I'm putting a unit on the Titans. It's happening. Thank you very much for your consideration, friends.
So, all right. Any other
anything? Oh, good. I was reading anything about yesterday. 10 points. Atlanta and the Rams meant nothing. I think it was a 6.5 point spread with Cleveland meant nothing. 7 points. I think it was Cincinnati, Dallas. It's beginning of the season. It's the wild, wild west. Give me the 10.
The only big spreads I got home yesterday were the Niners and the Packers, and that was about it. So other than that, it's been dog city pretty much for the first 2 weeks here of the NFL season. All right, give him a follow on Twitter at Prop Holliday. That's HOLLIDAY. Again, his plays tonight: Traylon Burks' longest reception over 15.5, Kirk Cousins over 36.5 passing attempts, and KJ Osborne anytime touchdown plus 320. Bobby, always great to talk to you, brother. Best of luck tonight,
guys. I love the blue and the green we had going. Take care.
Yes, we are thematic here on Let's Bet It. All right, before we get to our plays of the day, let's hit the rewind button back to college football and our weekend takeaways, Jared. We'll start with you. It was an interesting week in college football. A lot of big favorites covered. It went very chalky on Saturday, to say the least. But what's your takeaway, your biggest takeaway from the weekend?
I think I have a set top 2, Georgia and Michigan. I think it's pretty set for me, those 2 teams. I think Alabama's right there. I think Ohio State's right there. But I think if I had to put 2 teams if I had to make a top tier of college football right now, I would put Georgia and Michigan in the top tier and I would let it filter down from there. I think there are some teams that are undervalued, and this is not a homer pick, but I think Penn State is very undervalued. I think the fact that they were an unranked team, again, the rankings don't mean anything, but the fact that they were that off the radar with all their talent before the season and they're the only team in college football with 2 Power 5 road wins in the first 3 weeks. You could kind of put Florida State in that mix, but that first game was technically a neutral site game against LSU, but it was very much a road game at the Superdome. So you can, make a case with an asterisk that Florida State also deserves to be on that list with 2 Power 5 road wins in the non-conference. Very, very difficult to do. And Penn State made it look very easy against Auburn on Saturday. But I still think it's Georgia and Michigan a cut above the rest. I think there are some other good teams in college football. And unlike last year, where really there was only 2 teams that probably could win it, and it was Georgia and Alabama, I feel like you could throw some other names into the mix this year. And we might see I don't want to call it parity because there's really only like 4 teams, but there's more teams this year that have a chance, in my eyes, to win the national championship than do last year. And I think that's good for college football, especially as we continue to move towards what is an expanded playoff. So, yes, very chalky weekend. We'll get into the conference season very soon, and then things will kind of settle themselves down. But there's 5 or 6 teams, I think. USC, I know you're about to talk to Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Clemson, maybe if they can get a little more play from their quarterback. Even Oklahoma, I thought looked really, really good with Venables as their head coach and with Gabriel, the quarterback, who, has a chance. So their defense played a little better. So there's some teams that at least can create some noise this year compared to last year where I thought it was very top heavy.
Yeah, in short, USC is a top 5 team. And I've been saying that since after week 1 against Rice. And it wasn't about them scoring 66 or 3 defensive pick sixes, or it was just watching them play. There was a different level of preparedness and crispness to them. And I backed it up the following week with the taking them against Stanford. And, they win against Fresno rather handily. I mean, this team is not only good offensively, because what you're watching with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams is exactly what you expected to see at Oklahoma. If those 2 guys are still in Oklahoma right now, Caleb Williams would have been a preseason favorite for the Heisman, and Oklahoma would have been a preseason favorite to make the college football playoff. We're seeing exactly what we thought we'd see. They're just in a different uniform. For some reason, people forgot that. But it's that defense that 10 transfers have come in and have changed the scope of things. This is actually a defense that can play with people and stop people. They have the easiest path to a Pac-12 title. That's all really. October 15th is their chance for the college football playoff. If they win that game right there against Utah, guess what? They're going to be in the Pac-12 title game, and they're probably going to win it. And if that's the case, they are going to the college football playoff. And there's an argument to be made, even if they're undefeated heading into the college football or into the Pac-12 title game, they'd still get in at 12-1. So all that aside, USC is a top 5 team. They're better than Clemson right now, and they're better than Oklahoma right now, and should be in the top 5. But more to come on that. All right, early birds, early lines for week 4. We're in week 4 of college football.
Yeah.
Wow. Where are you looking here for an early game that you're in love with?
Easy one for me. I locked it in last night. It's already moved to a key number, so it's a little less valuable today, but I got UCLA laying 20.5. We are going to be fading Colorado every week until they show us anything. Their athletic director put out a long, lengthy statement yesterday showing that they're not going to fire Carl Durrell. And it's obvious if he gets fired before the end of the year, they owe him almost another $9 million. So I think the AD is trying to soften the blow of how miserable this Colorado team is going to be this year, because I don't think the Buffaloes can afford to pay Carl Durrell's buyout. Unlike a team like Nebraska that prints money, they can afford to pay Scott Frost's expanded buyout. I don't think Colorado can, which means we're getting Carl Durrell for the duration. And that is good news for bettors, because he is a terrible head coach, and the Buffaloes are a terrible football team. Now, UCLA is coming off that scare to South Alabama. I think that's a good thing. I think they'll have a little more juice in them this week. And again, we're just going to fade, especially when it's below a key number. And it opened at 20 and it moved to 21 pretty quick. We got in last night at 20.5. I would still bet it at 21, but we are going to be fading Colorado every week until they show us anything. And they didn't show us anything last week, and we were fading them last week, and we'll continue it this week. So that's my one early birds pick for now. UCLA. If you can find 20.5, God bless you, but I would still lay 21 with the Bruins.
All right, I got my eyes on one game. This likely will be my best bet. I have one other game that I need to dive into that I'm leaning on, but and I had to search a little bit for this one because it wasn't a game that initially made my eyes pop. But Tulsa is going to Ole Miss, going down to Oxford, and Mississippi is laying 20, 21 in this game, but it's the total that caught my eye of 62, which seems like a gift at this point in time for two offenses that are averaging over 40 points a game. Tulsa has the best pass offense in the country. They've thrown more passing touchdowns than anybody. And I'm not sure that Ole Miss's defense, who's played, I don't know, Georgia Tech, who's barely a Power 5 team at this point in time, Central Arkansas, and Troy, has ever actually had an offense of any competency that they've had to play. Yes, they've only given up 4.3 points per game over the course of 3 games, but they haven't played anybody yet. Even if Tulsa only scores 21 points in this game, they don't have a defense that's going to stop Ole Miss from getting to 40. This total is way low. I mean, like 5 or 6 points low. This should be about 67 or 68, given these two offenses and how much they can score. This feels like an early gift. Again, just some reaction to the little research last night. I got a lot more diving in to do to look at some things and game scripts and everything else. But Tulsa and Ole Miss over 62 feels like a gift for two offenses that score in the mid-40s through 3 games of football this week. So that's where I am, at least on my early look. Like I said, I think I got one more game I really have tossed around as possible being my best bet of the week. And obviously that'll be up on the Pickswise.com website. But that's where I'm leaning right now, Tulsa and Ole Miss. All right, before we get to the 3-star plays on the Pickswise.com website, Let's Bet is presented by Superbook Sports, the best place to bet football this season. Download the Superbook app or visit superbook.com now, and they'll match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins or loses. Plus, they've already have lines up for every NFL game for the rest of the season. So if you're into the look-ahead lines, place to go. Superbook.com, voted the #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Now available right in the palm of your hand. Visit superbook.com to join. Jared, that brings us to the moment of truth, as we do every day here on Let's Bet It. Our plays of the day. But first, 3-star plays on the website are, let the listening audience know.
Oh, got a couple for you. Andrew Wilshire, our site editor, checking in tonight. Vikes Eagles side. I'll get to the total in a minute. And Ryan Hodges, Dodgers D-backs. A little run line action. Yes, they are still playing Major League Baseball, at least from what I've heard across the interweb. I haven't watched any of it over the weekend, but they are still playing baseball for at least another couple of weeks in the regular season, and then we will dive into the postseason. And that's all we got. A couple of Yerfy Nerfy bets on the site as well, Mark Lammy, for those that are interested. I
was just feeling like I haven't done a Nerfy in a while, so maybe it's to wade back into the Nerfy pool, but nah.
I haven't. So I'll be honest. I'm at the point in my football capping journey where I know I still have to I can't stop tracking the Nerf. I mean, I've made it this far. It's like running a marathon and stopping on the final mile. So I have to push through and finish the journey. But I'm struggling with spending time every night or day logging the Nerf. It's been a struggle the last few days. Just being open and vulnerable with you guys, because you guys do, you're the diehards here on the stream every morning. You watch us every day, but it's been tough. It's been tough the last couple weeks trying to get those Yerfy Nerfy bets and all those results logged. But I will push through for you guys because I love you all.
All right, on to the plays of the day. My friend, tee us up.
Yeah, so this one, I don't want to say it was easy, but the handicap is easy. I think when you look at this Eagles defense, I'm going with the over in the Eagles-Vikings game. I got in at 49.5. You might still be able to find a 49.5 out there. Let's check the market right now this morning. Actually, wow, it's dropping like a rock. I don't know who knows something, but I'm seeing 48.5s out there. So maybe I'm on the wrong side of this, and maybe you guys want to change course. That's fair. But the market is disagreeing with this bet for me this morning. And that's good news for you guys, though, because you can get a better price. I still feel like the Eagles defense is very overvalued. They made a ton of moves in the offseason. They renovated basically their entire secondary. But I'm concerned about the front four and Hargraves and Cox with this Jonathan Gannon's scheme, just it hasn't gelled yet. And they got gashed by the Lions, who, again, the Lions scored a lot of points against Washington yesterday. But I think people were a little bit surprised at how easily they moved it and ran it against this Eagles front last week. And I think Dalvin Cook's going to kind of be on the same plane here. The play action passing game, I think, is going to be a big part. And we all know what the Vikings have on the outside. We talked about it with Cousins and Jefferson and Thielen, and even KJ Osborne. Prop Holliday thinks is going to get into the mix today. But I think the running game, which will set up the passing game, is going to be big tonight. On the other side for the Eagles, the Vikings only had to worry about one specific part of the game plan last week against Aaron Rodgers because there wasn't a lot on the outside. No Allen Lazard, both tackles were hurt. Well, now this Eagles offensive line is arguably one of the best in the league, and they have to deal with a completely different game plan this week, scheming for a mobile quarterback. I know Aaron Rodgers is mobile, but you're not worried about him gashing you with his legs on RPOs for 20, 30 yards down the field. That's what they're going to have to deal with when they go up against Jalen Hurts tonight. And we saw how good A.J. Brown looks on the outside. So there are just weapons everywhere all over the field on both of these offenses. And again, now the total's under 7 touchdowns at under 49. That seems low to me. Now, maybe someone knows something I don't. That's why the total's dropped a point in the last 24 hours. But I still feel like the ball is going to be moving up and down the field in this game. We'll see what the red zone disparity looks like and if these teams can finish those drives. But when the ball is moving and when both offensive lines, I think, have an edge on the defensive fronts, that's a game just like Washington, Detroit yesterday. I want to be on the over. So a 1.5 unit risk, just like we're doing with all our sides and totals in NFL this year on over. I got 49.5, but you can definitely get a better price now across the market from what I'm looking at, but I'm still rolling with it. Vikings, Eagles, the over tonight in Philly.
For my play of the day, I'll head to the other Monday night game, Titans and Bills in Buffalo. Titans getting 10 points, which in short is a massive number for two teams that were double-digit teams last year. A lot of this is overreaction from the Bills winning heavily in week 1 against the defending Super Bowl champs as the preseason Super Bowl favorite. But go back to last year, these two teams played a game that the Titans won. Derrick Henry was able to take advantage and run the ball quite well. Didn't have the greatest game in week 1 against the Giants, but Ed Oliver out for the Buffalo Bills, a huge hole in the front of their defensive line. And Mike Vrabel's a smart enough coach to know to grind this pace down and keep the Buffalo Bills offense off the field. He'll do that. He'll have some measure of success tonight. Ryan Tannehill's still an effective passer. He's not going to be as dominant or as prolific as he was with A.J. Brown in the lineup, but this is still a guy who is a high percentage passer and hopefully doesn't make too many mistakes. Bills also missing Gabe Davis. Remember, if the Titans had won week 1 and Randy Bullock makes that field goal, this line doesn't look like a double digit. It might only be 8.5, maybe 9, but still, when you get to double digits and you hit a key number of 10, things start to change a little bit, as we saw yesterday. It's a tough number for favorites to cover. I think you get the Bills with extra rest, going home after a big win, sort of inflating this line a little bit. Tennessee will keep it tight. I don't know if they'll win this thing. I probably don't think that they will, but Buffalo coming off a big blowout last week, set up for a little bit of a letdown this week. Give me the Titans plus 10 for my play of the day. All right, that'll do it for us on this Monday edition of Let's Bet It, brought to you by Superbook Sports. Again, make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel, download the Pickswise app, available at the Apple Store and Google Play. Make it a wonderful Monday for Jared Smith. I'm Mark Zinno. This has been Let's Bet It. Have a great day. Go get it. Go bet it. We'll see you tomorrow.